All right, 18.2.
It's here.
It's different.
It is.
It's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. We want to dive right in. So first of all, when you guys are watching this, keep in mind, look, we're filming this thing 4 to 5 minutes after literally watching it go down live. So take what we have to say, but mainly make sure that you're referring to games.crossfit.com for the official either scaling options or for the official rules and standards, and making sure that you're not making any mistakes like the Zybex rower and or even our mistake or my mistake of thinking that a couple no reps last week were due to that not opening the hip all the way in the clean prior to going overhead. So make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity possible, and then we're going to provide you with our 2 cents right here to give you what we think is going to give you the best performance this weekend in 18.2 and 18.2A. So where do we start, Nick?
I think obviously with 18.2, the first part.
Yep.
It's two parts. You guys know the workout by now. It's a 1 through 10 ladder of dumbbell squats and burpee over bar.
Yep.
Bar facing burpees. So there's a couple things that stood out for me. One is you got to go. And so I look at 2 different athletes. One, if you're hoping to go to regionals, it's an on switch. You just got to go. Right? Like, because that time that's going to be competitive is going to be a short window, and it's going to be seconds, right? So it's really like warm up well, and honestly, that's where I start, right? I think about, if you're going to excel in this workout, it's going to be, you won't win it because of the warm up, but you're going to sure lose it if you don't warm up well. I love your saying about, we want to break that seal, and you don't want to get smacked in the face halfway through this workout, realizing you didn't warm up well.
Right.
So I think about, you got to add some sprint work in there.
Yep.
We're going to have a warm-up somewhere over there. Nelson's going to do his magic. But, big aerobic warm-up, just like we kind of have shown you. A lot of movement in there just to prep, then specific to the workout. But the big piece here is a sprint, right?
Yeah.
The clean warm-up we'll talk a little bit about separately. But you're going to want to get on an aerosol, ideally, and be able to just kind of break that seal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to I always describe it this way. So think about an on-ramp to a freeway. Yep. Like, if you're not warmed up and you've always been behind that person who stops and you're like, go, right? Like, if you stop, you're kind of screwed. You got to match the speed and warm up. So what do you think about the clean? How would you warm up with the clean?
Specifically, I think that you got to have in your mind a number, right? So clearly having within the understanding that within this workout, we are going to be in a very bad place, right? If you execute it the right way, it's just a natural byproduct. So whether you have a large window to finish this clean or a small window, we have to give ourselves a realistic number, right? Yeah. For most athletes, I think this is going to probably fall somewhere between 90 and 95%, give or take, right? Some of you, fortunate enough, I hope it's many, may set a 1 rep max PR. That's awesome if you do. And some of you may fall a little shy of 90%, but I think realistically, under the state of fatigue, with the time window that we have, even with what we watched of the athletes with Vellner and Olsen go, they were really close to that 90% number. So understand that. And then in the warm-up, prior to ever getting the workout going, ever to loading your bar on the floor, you want to make sure that you have hit enough cleans to feel confident in where you're going to open, right? And so I personally would suggest that we go to about 70 to 75% for a 1 rep. Any more than that, we're looking at kind of overloading the system and unnecessarily taking too many warm-up attempts, because realistically, we still want you to have that urgency and that arousal when we do get on the open or the workout floor, and understand that if you guys feel like you're going to finish this workout in a competitive time, and we'll talk about that in just a second, what that looks like, you're going to get a few attempts. So you're not going to need to walk up to 80 or 85% cold or overly exhausted and smoke it. You can start a little lighter than that and build from there.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys, right, in the open workout, they had, I think it was like 4 or 5 attempts. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're a competitive athlete, pushing the limits, sub 5 minutes, you're going to have 4 or 5 attempts. Right. So I think opening at that 70%, and then working up from there is a really good plan. I'm a big fan personally of just a couple high pulls, so you don't need to necessarily go to that 80-85% in the warm up. Nope. It kind of depends on who you are. If you need that kind of greasing of the wheels, then you know your body. But a good way to kind of prime things without actually kind of wasting a rep is just a couple high pulls at maybe like 90%, right? Yep. I think that's a really good strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, they both switched shoes. Well, actually, I don't know if Noah switched shoes, but anyways, they mess with their shoes, put their you know, knee sleeves on, things like that. That's just something you might want to consider already having on. It's kind of a personal preference. If you're trying to debate on whether you go with lifting shoes or, you know, just your nanos or whatever you got, you should know the answer by now.
Right.
Honestly, if you don't know the answer to that, I would probably suggest switching your shoes.
Yeah, whatever you need.
Yeah, whatever you lift.
Yeah, whatever you prefer. Don't leave any stone unturned at this point. So don't take anyone else's advice for it. From now, like when it comes to preferred equipment, you got to use what you're comfortable with. Clearly, having a belt on the sideline close near is going to be smart for most of you. When those attempts get heavy, especially after you're already breathing, it's sometimes really hard to create that stability in our midline or our trunk that we want. So utilizing a belt would be smart. So have it easily accessible so you can just strap the thing on when you need it.
Yeah, and when it's go time, there's got to be a sense of urgency, right? You saw how squat cycle time and burpee cycle time really played a difference.
Absolutely.
And so you have to think about becoming efficient. It became very apparent in 18.1 where transitions were huge, right? And there was a little bit, I don't want to say gaming, but like there was a strategy to how you set up, right? And transitions and everything that will lend itself to 18.2. It's going to be less impactful. You kind of got to go, but just realize like that extra step, that extra no rep, right, is going to be huge. So really like go in with this idea of having flawless movement and no reps.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to equipment setup, it's important noting the video. You guys need to be watching it. You should probably watch it more than once if you need to. If you're really one of those guys that's planning on making it to regionals and you don't have buddies to watch that are competitive as well, this is probably going to be the most accurate form of data that we've got. So watch it, become a student of it, because every second is going to count in this workout. You'll notice that what they did is they had their dumbbells set up slightly back into the side. So even on the rounds where they had to do an extra burpee over the bar, it was a really smooth step back, like literally a backward step over the bar and then right to their dumbbells versus like, oh, let me walk around and get set up and, you know, do this or do whatever.
Yeah.
The workout's a trap, right?
In what way?
The transitions.
Yes.
Right, the transitions are a trap. Like this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, those 1s and 2s all the way through like round 6, they're so short that you can really get caught up in the trap of taking your time. Like, oh, I'm doing great, I'm moving smooth, I'm not going to stop. But if you lollygag, if you take that as a lull and you don't have that urgency, you will lose precious seconds.
Yeah, especially in the early rounds, right?
Right.
If chalk shouldn't be anywhere near you.
Just get it out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Put it in a different room. You know, and really just keep moving, right? So think about cycle rates, think about just keeping moving. It is scored as 2 events, so you have to treat them as 2 scores. You can't game both of them because you'll end up with a mediocre score and really not do as well as if you're really pushing both. And I think, you know, depending on who you are, like we talked about, you'll have anywhere from 2 to 5 attempts, right? Like even you know, the athlete who opened up, I forget her name, but she was doing a scaled version, and she had 2 attempts, right? So there is time built in.
And the clean is what you're referring to.
In the clean, yeah. So I just say kind of know where your fitness is, kind of estimate how much time you have, and then pick your starting weight. And then this is really going to come in handy if you've been training with big jumps. Because I know that a lot of things that we program for our athletes and for you guys is that we like to get you comfortable and force big jumps and EMOMs and things like that, right? Because this is a perfect example. Like you don't have time to put 5 pounds on and then wait 2 minutes and put 5 pounds on, right? So I think if your training will show if you've been practicing that type of stuff.
Yeah, I would say a big part is, and especially in 18.2, run your race, right? And so what that means is specifically, can you make up ground on the burpees? Can you make up ground on the squats? The key is with the front squat is like, show your reps. You can't afford a no rep anywhere in this workout if you want to be and get a competitive time. But specifically in those squats, open your hip all the way. A great way to do that is solidifying by squeezing your butt at the top. When you do that, go into the next rep. While you need to show that each rep counts, you do not have time to hang out here, right? You're going to just go back down into the next front squat. And I'll tell you right now, anyone that hopes to make it to the next level is not going to fail a 100-pound or a 70-pound front squat. So continue to go, right? And the burn's going to settle in, which I'm sure is why Dave Castro dropped that flaming picture or whatever it was. And go. Now, we saw Vellner. It cost him probably 7 to 8 seconds for one no rep because he was no repped on one side of the bar, but had already jumped over, did a burpee on this side, which didn't count. He had to go back and repeat that other burpee, right? So be clean. It's better to have a smooth, clean run than one with no reps.
Yeah, and one thing, probably just to cap the 18.2 is Noah's comments just about how he got real in round 7. And you could see in him a little bit of a slowing, a little bit of fatigue, right? And so this is obviously one of the best athletes in the world. And so take that into account now. Even though we're saying the on switch has to go and you just have to go, you still have to pace this. You can't just, blindly go into this. And so, hopefully you know enough about your body to where you can kind of ease into this and ramp up quickly. But there is what we're really saying is that there's no space to waste time.
Nope, none at all. Urgency.
For sure. And then I think the clean is the clean. I mean, we talked about this idea of maybe doing a power clean at a front squat first, or maybe a power clean at lightweight just to get something in, and then work heavier. It kind of depends on where you guys are.
Right.
There's nothing in there that says it has to be a squat clean.
No, nothing.
And so it can be a power clean for you guys who maybe mobility limitations, things like that. If you look at both first attempts, right, from the live cast, it looked heavier than I thought it was going to be.
Sure,
right? So
of course.
legs are going to be smoked.
Legs are going to be smoked,
so something to consider.
Yeah. They both opened at 2 1/4, which we think is around 60 to 65% for either of them. That's probably on the light side, depending on how much time you guys think that you'll have, right? We probably assume that the athletes that are going to be competitive for regional times on both portions of this workout, you guys are going to have more time. So you might be able to open at 70% or 65%. For some of you that have less experience or less on the competitive side of this sport, and you're the day-to-day, the Friday Night Lights throwdown type, then you may have less attempts. And if you know that you can step up to a bar while you're fatigued and maybe power clean 75 to 80%, that's probably where you should open because we know they'll have less time for more attempts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Repeatability.
Yeah.
I think that there is an opportunity to repeat twice. So I think about Friday and Monday.
Yeah.
If you're putting up big weight and you're operating in the 80+%, 90% of your 1RM, it's going to be really hard to go 3 times just because of recovery and everything. But, your first attempt, if you miss your first 2 cleans and it's just kind of a fumble, right, then that's something that, maybe you can try again on Saturday or Sunday. But really be just conscious of how that, heavy weight wears us down. And so really 2, and it's what we believe, I think, for the majority of workouts.
No,
it's really 2.
Yeah,
maybe
I really think
2.
And I think 2 with at least a day recovery. I mean, if you guys are really zealous about this and it's like Friday you're going to hit it and then you're going to try again on Sunday, I think that's fine. And then leave yourself a window for Monday, that's cool. But understand that even though it's 55 front squats, these should be the kind that make you sore.
Yeah.
Because I'm speaking from experience. I've gotten strong and in great shape throughout a season where I can handle many back squats in a workout or many front squats or overhead squats at 2 1/4 or 200+ pounds. And then you give me a workout with fast pistols or air squats where it's up, down, up, down, up, down, which this stimulus is kind of like for you guys with a high capacity. Your legs will probably be a little tender from this thing just because of the speed of the contraction. So recovery is big too.
Yeah, so recovery, I think right after you guys need to be getting on an air assault and walking, right? Clearing that metabolic waste, getting that active recovery. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge for your ability to repeat or just get back to training, whichever it is. So I think that as soon as you're done, don't lay on the floor, don't chit-chat. I mean, you can chit-chat on the air assaults, but I just say focus on that recovery.
No question.
Cold, hot showers. You did a brute shoot recently about that, so you should go check that out. Great thing to implement. And I think just really focusing and treating the recovery as priority this coming weekend is gonna pay off.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's all we got.
Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing how you guys do.
Yep. 18.2, 18.2A. It's very different than 18.1. It's gonna burn.
Yeah.